In the last lecture, we had been looking at the time domain approach to time series analysis. We had looked at the classical models in the time domain. What we will be henceforth looking at would be the Box-Jenkins model. But before we come to the Box-Jenkins model, we will be discussing one of the most important concepts that we look at when we do time domain studies, that is the autocovariance function. The autocovariance function or the autocorrelation function is the major tool that is deployed when we do time series analysis in the time domain. Along with this, we will also be looking at the concept of stationarity. Now, stationarity is a fundamental concept which actually makes the analysis both simple and tractable. So, most of the studies that we are concerned with would be that we will be reducing a series which is non-stationary into a stationary series and then analyzing the stationary series. We have seen that we can do it by eliminating the trend and the seasonal component, and we will see what actually stationarity means. Another fundamental concept in time domain studies is that of ergodicity. Ergodicity is not a concept related to the process as such, but when we take a sample and when we want to estimate the process mean or the process covariances, ergodicity is a tool which has a very great importance in the sense that this gives us meaningful sample estimates of the mean or the autocovariance. Let us look at the basic tools in time domain studies. Now, expectation of x t will denote as mu t, which is the ensemble mean. That is, if you have a large number of realization, mu t would be the mean of this realization values at time t. The autocovariance function is defined as gamma t h, which is the covariance between x t and x t plus h. It is given by expectation of x t minus mu t into x t plus h minus mu t plus h. And the variance would come out as a special case as gamma t naught. And in this case, you notice that all of these moments depend on the time t. The means of the covariances are time dependent. It will depend on which time point we are at. Now, we define what is referred to as strict stationarity. Now, let f x t 1 x t 2 t k be the joint distribution function of x t 1 x t 2 x t k. So, is the joint distribution function of this k random variables taken from k different time points. We say that the process is strictly stationary if f x t 1 plus h to x t k plus h has the same distribution as f x t 1 to x t k. So, if the joint distributions are the same in spite of the difference of this h time points, then we say that the process is strictly stationary. And this needs to happen for any set of t 1, t 2, t k and for all h values. So, whatever the difference h and whatever the set of values t 1, t 2, t k, these two joint distributions should be the same. What does this mean? This means that the different parts of the time series look similar, but then you know that if you have a trend or a seasonality, if you have an increasing trend, obviously the initial parts would be much lower than the later parts. So, the different parts would not look similar, but if you have strict stationarity, since individual components, whatever the set t and whatever the distance h, should have the same distribution. So, the different parts should be looking similar when we plot the data. As opposed to strict stationarity, we have what is referred to as weak stationarity. The process xt is said to be weakly stationary if expectation of xt is equal to mu, the covariance gamma t h is equal to gamma h for any h. As a special case, of course, we have gamma t naught is equal to gamma naught. That is, the mean and autocovariance function do not depend on t. Mind you, we had originally said expectation of xt is equal to mu t, and now we are dropping the t and we are saying that the expectation of xt is equal to mu wherever we are, whatever time point we are. And similarly for the autocovariance function, it is independent of the time point that we are looking at. In general, when we talk about stationarity, we will be meaning weakly stationary. So, until otherwise mentioned, we would be usually using weak stationarity as stationarity. What are the properties of stationarity? The random variables xt of a strictly stationary sequence are identically distributed. Why is this? This is because if we take k equal to 1, we get the marginal distributions, and the strict stationarity condition holds for any k. So, if we are taking individually, then also we will see that the marginals should have the same distribution functions, and hence they must be identically distributed. And if xt is strictly stationary and expectation of xt is finite, then xt is weakly stationary as well. This is because strict stationarity means that the distributions are same, and unless we do not have any problem with the definition of the expectation, it would mean that if the expectations would be the same as well as the variance covariances. So, this might not be true for distributions like the Cauchy distribution. So, it might be strict stationary, but the expectation does not exist, and we cannot say anything about weak stationarity in that case. Weakly stationarity does not imply strict stationarity, except when the whole distribution is characterized by the first two moments. Because if the whole distribution is characterized by the first two moments, then weak stationarity would really mean that all of the parameters are independent of the time, and hence the distributionally also the distributions would be same everywhere, but otherwise weak stationarity does not imply strict stationarity. Of course, an identically and independently distributed sequence is always strictly stationary. This is quite obvious, they are identical and therefore they would be strictly stationary. Now, let us look at the major tool that we had been talking about, the autocovariance function. Under stationarity, the autocovariance function gamma h is no longer a function of t, it is independent of t. So, we drop the suffix t and we have only gamma h. Firstly, gamma h is non-negative. Secondly, gamma h is absolutely less than equal to gamma naught. This is a standard result, the covariance being less than the variance for any h. Thirdly, gamma h is an even function, that is gamma minus h is equal to gamma h for all h. So, you do not really need to look at the negative values of h. So, gamma of minus 1 would be equal to gamma of 1, gamma of minus 5 would be equal to gamma of 5. So, we only need to look at the positive values of h, we will get the whole series that way. Again, this is quite obvious, because if you are looking at the covariance between xt and xt plus h, which is segregated by h steps, it should be the same as the covariance between xt and xt minus h, which is again has a difference of h steps. Because the process is stationary, this would hold. Again, for any k, the matrix gamma, capital Gamma, which is composed of gamma naughts in the diagonal and gamma h starting from h equal to 1 to k in the off diagonal, this matrix is non-negative definite. Mind you, this is a dispersion matrix and hence it has to be non-negative. Let us look at the autocorrelation function, but before that let us look at condition under which we can have autocovariances function. Any real valued function defined on the integers, mind you h's are integers, is the autocovariance function of a stationary time series if and only if it is even and non-negative definite. So, if the third and the fourth condition holds, that is gamma minus h is equal to gamma h and it is non-negative, the matrix, then any real valued function would can be identified as the autocovariance function of a stationary time series. But very often the autocovariance function is not the function that we generally look at. Instead, we look at the autocorrelation function, which is simply the normed autocovariance function. Rho h, the autocorrelation function, is given by gamma h by gamma naught. So, you just divide the autocovariance function by the variance and you get rho h. This is exactly what we do elsewhere in statistics. The interesting aspect obviously is that rho h is less than or equal to 1, and that helps us in finding a bound for the gamma h or the rho h. Gamma h is not bounded, so rho h has a bound and hence is easier to look at. A plot of rho h against h is known as the correlogram. So, generally the plot would start at 1, because if you take h equal to 0, then we get rho 0 is equal to 1, and then it would be decreasing because gamma h is going to be less than gamma naught, and hence rho h is going to be less than 1. This plot is known as the correlogram, and the correlogram is an important tool because once we plot the correlogram, it very often helps us to identify what the underlying process is. So, as far as identification is concerned, correlogram is a very important tool. Now, let us look at the sample values, okay? And here is where we come into some difficulty when we are looking at time series. Let us look at the observations we had for t different time points, n different time points. So, we have x t defined for t equal to 1 to n, and we define x bar is 1 by n summation of the x t's. This is the usual x bar that we always define in statistics. But the problem in this case is that, remember what we talked about in the last module, is that the x's come from different distributions. So, that would create a problem. It is not that we have n observations from the same distribution, we have n observations, one each from n different distributions. So, we need to be careful as to what the sample mean stands for. Again, gamma hat h can be defined as 1 by n summation x t minus x bar, x t plus h minus x bar. Of course, again x bar is the same, we do not have x t bar and x t plus h bar. So, we have the same x bar in both places, and this is the sample autocovariance of order h. And we can define the sample autocorrelation as R h is gamma hat h by gamma hat rho, 0 in this case. Often the autocovariances have a divisor of n minus h instead of n. So, you can take a different divisor, but in both cases we will show that gamma hat h actually tends to gamma h and if n is large and h is small, this does not really matter much. But let us look at the problem that we have by using the sample mean and the sample autocovariance, taking the observations from different distributions. For this, we require what is referred to as the ergodicity of the process. Now, ergodicity is a highly technical issue which we will be generally avoiding here. So, I will just give you a very brief idea of what ergodicity is. Loosely speaking, a sequence xt is ergodic if any two sets of xt's become asymptotically independent as the distance between the two sets increase. So, we have one set, say we will just take a single member set, we have xt in one set and xt plus h in the other, and this would be in a time series correlated. But if h becomes large, then we can expect that this correlation would be going to 0, and if we have an underlying normal distribution, then we can say they would be asymptotically independent. So, this is a more general definition of it. So, as the two sets move away from each other, we would be expecting them to become more and more independent. We call it asymptotic independence. Now, why ergodicity? Because ergodicity allows us to develop what is referred to as the ergodic theorem, and we will see this ergodic theorem is of immense importance in time series studies. As I said, we will not go into the details of this theorem also, but we will give you an idea of how ergodicity helps us to analyze the data. And why ergodicity? Now, let us explain this. Normally, the mean at a given time point t should be x t bar, but what we are using is x bar. How should you calculate x t bar given the time point t? You should have several realization at the time point t, and from those several realizations you take a cross sectional average. So, say for in the year 2010 we have several series, and we take the average of 2010 values over the different series, and that average value would stand as the 2010 average. But unfortunately for us, there will be no several series, we will just have one single series, one single realization from the ensemble. So, if I take one single realization, so the value at 2010 and the value at 2005, the two averages might not be the same. So, how do I take that average, and how do I say that this average represents the value for all the years? So, it should have been the average over several realization, but we are taking average not over realization, but along one realization, and that is the problem, and ergodicity helps us to circumvent this problem. And you have taken x bar as the average. So, can we take this as the ensemble mean at t? That is the point. Now, the ergodic theorem. Okay. Now, let x t be a weakly stationary process with mean x t equal to mu, and autocovariance function covariance x t plus h is equal to gamma h if this gamma h is convergent. The other, you can put the condition as gamma h going to 0 as h tends to infinity. We then say that x t is ergodic in the mean. So, if this condition holds, that we have a convergent gamma h series, we will say that x t is ergodic in the mean. And the ergodic theorem says that if x t is weakly stationary and ergodic with expectation of x t equal to mu, then what we have is x bar tends in probability to mu. So, firstly x t must be weakly stationary, second it must have a autocovariance function which should be convergent, which should be going to 0 as h tends to infinity. Under these conditions, of course with a finite mu, x bar, the value or the average over the realization tends to the mean value. Notice something, first of all you need stationarity and then you need ergodicity as well. Let us see why. The average over the different time points tends to the ensemble average as the sample size increases. That is what we are using here. Why do you need stationarity? First of all, because if you do not have stationarity, you have the mu t is different, you have the gamma t is different. Under stationarity, mu t is equal to mu and gamma t h is equal to gamma h for all t. Therefore, convergence of gamma h would be independent of t. So, as h goes to infinity, this gamma h would be going to 0 and it is not for all t that you have to look at this. And secondly, you are saying that the process has the same mean whatever the time point is. Okay. So, these two conditions are important. So, stationarity is important and then the ergodicity is important because it says that x bar can only tend to mu if the series of autocovariance functions is convergent. The ergodic theorem you can see is a generalization of the law of large numbers. Law of large numbers is slightly different in the sense that it happens for one single distribution, you are taking a sample from a single distribution. Ergodicity, you are taking samples from different distributions and taking the statistic constructing statistics on the basis of that. But it is a generalization also because it allows for serial dependence in the random variables. Mind you, the x t's, unlike in the law of large numbers, in this case the x t's are serially correlated. So, it can be looked upon as a generalization of the law of large numbers. Covariance ergodicity. Now, any transformation g x t of a stationary ergodic sequence x t is also stationary ergodic. So, if x t is stationary ergodic, then g x t is going to be stationary ergodic as well. And let us see how this result helps us. Thus, if expectation of g x t exists, then we can say that 1 by n summation g x t tends to its expectation in probability, sort of the weak law, but in this case again we are averaging over the realization, not across the realizations. So, what would be the implication of this? So, if expectation of gamma h exists, then we can say that gamma h hat tends to gamma h in probability. So, we say that in this case the series is covariance ergodic, that is the sample gamma h hat. Mind you, when we defined gamma hat h, we had taken x bar in both places. We should have taken x t bar and x t plus h bar, as I said before. We have taken x bar in both places because it is ergodic in the mean, and now we can say also that this gamma hat h that we have defined would be tending to the actual population gamma h, because we have covariance ergodicity. In today's lecture, we have discussed the concepts of stationarity as well as ergodicity. Ergodicity we have seen is a slightly complex concept, but then this is necessary so that we can translate the sample values and use them as estimates of the corresponding population values. This is somewhat difficult in a time series, and ergodicity helps us actually to overcome this difficulty. But for ergodicity to hold, you also need the concept of stationarity. So, stationarity allows the ergodic theorem, because without stationarity the ergodic theorem is meaningless. So, we have looked at these two concepts, and we have also seen the major tool that we use in time series analysis in the time domain, that is the autocorrelation function. In subsequent classes, we will be looking at the Box-Jenkins model, where we will be assuming stationarity and ergodicity, and where we will be using the autocovariance or autocorrelation function as a major tool.